You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 110. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Today's guest is the founder and owner of Her Modern Life. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm sure we'll all be inspired by her story. Let's chop it up with Sydnei Jarman. Sydnei, how's it going?
Going well. How are you?
Glad to hear that. All is well on my end, too. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, here to talk about Her Modern Life and all the great things you got going on in business. But before we talk business, let's get to know the woman behind the brand. So I know you born and raised in the Gump. What was your upbringing like coming up in the city?
I'll say interesting. And that's because my father was military. So yeah, I'm from Montgomery, but I was able to really experience a lot growing up, thankfully. And I've gone to magnet school all my life. So it's been fun. Like when I tell people the different experiences I had, like elementary through high school, they're always like, "Oh my God, where are you from?" And I say Montgomery, and it's like, but yeah, this city has so much to offer, and I'm glad to be a vessel to show people how great this city is and the greatness that it produces.
Wow, that's amazing. So you got a chance to travel the world with your dad being in the military. Much respect to him for serving the country. So what's a memorable place you remember living at while you were doing that traveling and moving around?
Well, my mom didn't play that. So when he was stationed overseas, we were always in Montgomery, but we would like go visit him because she moved around a lot when she was younger, and I guess she just didn't want us to have that experience. So it was pretty stable. I literally been a resident. Well, I was a resident K through 12. And we would just go and visit. But I guess just like when he was in Alaska, and that's memorable to me because Alaska is one of the 50 states in the United States, but it's so different and it's like such a different world. And it just made me realize, and especially as I'm older, I appreciate that experience now so much because, everyone's so anxious to travel out of the country and to go overseas. But if you just take it like one state at a time, this country is amazing. Like it's so different, so many different cultures, so many different people. Like the geography is different, people sound different. It's a lot. So I would definitely tell people if anything is on your bucket list, you should put like visiting all 50 states on there.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's a great perspective. And to your point, a lot of us, myself included, we do get caught up in wanting to go to the Dubai's and Abu Dhabi's. And nothing wrong with that. But like you said, we got 50 beautiful states. And why not have that on your bucket list to go see each and every one? That's amazing.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am. So you come up in Montgomery and Pops was in the military and you and mom remain here in the city, finished up high school, and you go down 85, you go up 85, you land in Tuskegee University, better known as TU. Let's talk about it. What was your HBCU experience like?
You told me this was family friendly, so
let me just the language. Yeah.
No. Tuskegee was amazing, and it's so funny because Tuskegee was never on my list of schools to go to. I'm a family of Alabama State graduates. My mom was literally like third generation, and so like Alabama State was never on my list either, but like Tuskegee was definitely not on my list because I grew up in a family full of ASU graduates. Push comes to shove, 12th grade year, I'm kind of like, I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU, but I just didn't, I was playing around and I didn't really, decide on one for real. And at the last minute, literally like July, that summer after I graduated in May, they sent me a scholarship that was pretty much like a full ride. And my mom was like, yeah, that's where you're going then. So that's how I ended up at Tuskegee. Um, and like I said, this was like toward close to the end of summer. And this is when, I don't know if you remember, but this is when like Facebook groups were really popular. And
Mm.
but I just missed that way because I waited so long to decide what school I was going to. So when I got to Tuskegee, like all these freshmen in my dorm knew each other and like they went to orientation stuff together. And I was like, who are these people and how do y'all know each other? And it was like the first time in my life ever that I can remember being like, oh my God, I don't belong here. I'm an outsider. But Tuskegee ended up being one of the best decisions. Even now, I'm 32 years old and even post grad and everything, going to Tuskegee was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Wow, that's powerful. And kudos to you for getting a scholarship to go to TU. I know a lot of people that go to TU. I've rarely hear people talk about getting full ride scholarships. So that's
Yeah,
amazing that you was able to make it happen because TU is very expensive, it being a private institution.
it
So
is that. Yes.
so that's amazing that you were able to go down there and have a memorable time at Tuskegee. So what was your favorite part about the HBCU college experience in general?
That's a good question. I have several, but I'll pick a few. Of course, being able to pledge a sorority. I'm third generation Alpha Kappa Alpha. That was amazing. My grandma pinned me. So that's like a memory I will hold dear in my head. And just being an undergrad and being part of a sorority that I always like seen when I was younger and looked up to. And that goes back to being in a family of like ASU people. And I went to VTW, which geographically is literally down the street from Alabama State. So a lot of times after school, I would like go on campus and just like chill with like people I knew from Montgomery who were at school. And I just remember being like, oh my God, these ladies are everything. And so like becoming a part of that organization meant everything to me, but also just like the friends that I've made since like even now it's so weird when I meet people who are at Tuskegee around the same time that I was, but we had like different majors or we hung with different people. You know, we just never really crossed paths, but I meet them now. And Tuskegee is the thing that like binds us and we have this closeness. And it's just, oh, I love it so much. I love it. I love it. When people say college is a scam, I will argue until my face turns blue that it is not because it's just good. It's good all around.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And I attended HBCU as well. I ended up going to Alabama State University. And just to your point, like you get a chance to meet people, not just from the South, from all over. And you just
Right.
build those relationships, those lifelong friendships, and just having the opportunity to pledge and just really enjoy the college experience. But the most important part is, Sydney, you graduated. And that's dope. Cause
Yes.
hey, because listen, I'm not judging anyone, but sometimes the college partying it takes a lot of people out, and they don't get to the finish line. They just,
Yeah.
but you figured out a way. You made it happen. Got through it. So, what did you major in while you were at TU?
I'm glad you asked me that because I was about to say something about my major. So I graduated with two degrees, one in sales and marketing and the other in supply chain management. And supply chain management is like a dual engineering degree. So it took me a year longer to graduate. And that fifth year, I can remember being devastated because
Mm.
the majority of my friends that I came in with were either older than me or, with in my same graduating class. So they were all gone. I was the only person that had to do a fifth year. All my line sisters were gone. And I was just like, wow, I am pitiful. Like, why am I in college? Why am I in undergrad for 5 years? It's terrible. But then once again, Tuskegee teaching me invaluable lessons. As I've gotten older, I've run into so many people who aren't like the traditional students. So like they aren't in undergrad from like 18 to 21. And I don't know who's listening, but if anyone falls into that category and you're listening, I give you my utmost respect because the discipline and the determination it takes to finish school when you look around your class and don't see anybody that looks like you don't know anybody, you feel like an old person, like all of those things, it really takes a lot psychologically, mentally, everything. So when people are non traditional students, I applaud them and say, keep going. It doesn't matter if you start undergrad at 40 years old, just complete the mission.
Hey, you said the key phrase at the very end, completing the mission. You did what you had to
Yeah.
do. And
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine that extra year you sitting there, like you said, everybody you came to school with, they graduated, they already working, and you still there staying the course doing what you had to do. You finished with a dual
Yeah.
degree, engineering. All I can say is you made it happen. Hey, you were rocking and rolling that Tuskegee to finish with a dual degree. That's
I was trying.
Nah, you did it. Ain't no try. You did it. That's much respect. So nah, that's amazing. So you finished up at TU, and did you get a chance to land a role in your field that you went to school for?
Yes.
Nice.
So I interned all through college, which was, well, actually, it was fun. One of my best internships was with Union Pacific Railroads. I was in Omaha, Nebraska for an entire summer. We lived in the dormitories at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Great experience. Like personally, professionally, I felt like I would rather count the grains of sand on the beach than ever work in corporate America ever. Just because it was so tedious, and I, even though I got a degree in supply chain, obviously I'm very heavy on the marketing side, the sales side, the creative side. And so having to go to work every day and call and Union Pacific is a railroad. So I was doing a lot of stuff with train engineers and just like really type A specific people. And it just drove me nuts. And I said, okay, no matter what I do, I know this is what I'm not gonna do after I graduate. So this was also the summer that uh I won't say his name, that man in Florida murdered George Zimmerman and he went on trial.
Mhm.
And I remember this because, like I said, we were at University of Nebraska. So it was me and my friend Candace. We're still friends today. She went to Clark Atlanta. We were interning together. And then our suite mates, who were two white girls. And Candace and I were literally glued to the TV watching this trial, like just, waiting to see what happens, updating each other if we weren't in the suite, like just, like holding our breath about to see what was going on. And I will never forget, no shade to those girls, but like they could have cared less. Like you made no, they didn't even really know what was going on. They would walk in and be like, "What are y'all so tuned into? Like, what are you watching so intently?" And when we told them, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that was so sad. I heard about that," and just like keep going about their business. And I remember looking at Candace and Candace looking at me and us being like, white people literally live in like a totally different reality than we do. And that was the first time I had really been hit with that, as pretty much an adult. I was still in college, but we were adults. And I was like, wow. And so that's when I started to get into public policy and really getting to the root of, the racism in America and how what I do in my day to day can affect, what happens after me.
Wow, that's powerful, and appreciate you sharing just that powerful experience during an internship in Omaha, Nebraska, and you realizing that you didn't want to work at the railroad for 30, 40 years, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, sometimes what we don't want drives us just as much as what we do want. So,
Absolutely.
yes, ma'am. So that's amazing. So that transitioned perfectly into what you're doing creatively over into her modern life. So what exactly
Mhm.
inspired that name is very intriguing.
So, also in school, every Tuskegee in 2014 was like very corporate centered, because the School of Business had lots of corporate sponsorships, and they would push us all to go into these internships with these Fortune 100 companies, blah blah blah. And my professors would always tell me like, Sydney, this is not what you want to do. And even every summer, the companies would send like our reports back to our professors to say like how likely we would be to perform well in these jobs and blah blah blah. And they would be like, "Girl, they loved your work. You're such a hard worker. You're very intelligent." But they could tell like you didn't want to be there. You like, because I didn't. um, and so I was like, I need I need something. And this actually came when I was working at Alabama State because I started off in higher education. And I was just like, I need something that makes me feel at home because ASU is also like a very traditional work environment. So it's like be to work on time, you're supposed to wear this, like your hair needs to look like this, blah blah blah. And that's just not that's anyone who knows me knows that's not my thing. And so her modern life just kind of came like literally the definitions of the words her modern and life just kind of I don't know, it felt like me. Like I'm just a modern woman and these are the things that I think other modern women should know about, should work on, blah blah blah. So that's how the name came about.
Amazing. Great story. Very organic. How you came up with the name. Oh, that's
Thank you.
amazing. That's amazing. So what exactly you got going on over there at Her Modern Life?
Some of everything. Literally, I people say that you need to have a niche, which I kind of agree with, especially when they start talking about like digital content creation. People want to say like, "Oh, you just can't be general. You need to have a thing. Like, are you a sports person? Do you work out? Blah blah blah." I found that the joy of being alive in this particular time is that we have access to lots of things. I don't have to, like, it's great if I master one thing and I excel at one thing, but I'm happy that I excel at multiple things. So HML primarily is a media company. I do interviews, I post blogs, I write a lot. But there's also like an education portion to it. There's a voter information portion to it, public policy. Like it's just a lot of things. And I've learned that if you don't know it, you should have access to someone who does know it. So the HML network literally consists of state senators, principals, school district chair people who know exactly what they're talking about. So if I ever come across a topic and I'm like, oh, that's not my lane. I know somebody who is cruising in that lane and doing very well. And I say, okay, they can speak to HML's audience and break this down to make people understand what's happening around them.
Wow. And that's amazing what you were talking about in terms of not boxing yourself in, not finding that niche, because that is a common thing that we hear. Find your niche. You don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
a jack of all trades. Well, at the same time, you don't want to be boxed in either. Like you want to be able to create the way you want to create.
Yeah.
What you're
And
doing.
then like that full quote is like jack of all trades but a master of none. Okay, and so
And
like okay, if I don't exactly master everything, at least I can say I gave it the good old college try. And when I leave this earth, I can say I had so much fun while doing it. I wasn't stuck at a desk every day because I only decided to be great at one thing.
right, absolutely, and that's a great perspective to have, and I agree 100%. And it's just one of those cliches that get thrown around. Master, jack of all trades, master of none. But like you said, to your point, being a jack of all trades, what that says to me is you at least gave a lot of things a try, and you
Yeah.
never know. And you don't in your life asking yourself, what if I would have blogged about sports or politics or voting,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing it all. Like it's like a gumbo. Your website is jumping. It got everything from
Thank
pop
you.
culture. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I think that's great that you, and it just goes back to what you've been talking about throughout this entire interview. Like you one of those people, you refuse to be boxed in. Like you're going to
Yeah.
create the way you want to create. And that's what it's all about, doing it your way. When you, cause when you 100 years old and you getting ready to transition, you'll be able to say, I did everything I wanted to do.
Yeah, and my grandmother is well, both of my grandmothers are in their 80s, and something both of them tell me is that we're here for a good time, not a long time. So learn as much as you can, and I feel like when you put your hands in different pots, that's what continued education is. It's not necessarily that you don't know how to focus or you don't want to be good at a specific thing. It's just like that never stop learning kind of spirit.
Yes, ma'am. Shout out to both of your grandmas for that gym. We here for a good time, not a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. So whenever I have entrepreneurs, creators on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. Take us back to your aha moment when you first had the idea to take your love for creating content and writing and turn it into a business.
Can I wrap this in with audacity? Because I
Yes.
think that they go hand in hand for me.
Yes.
One day I was in the office and it's so random. I don't even remember how I came across this form, but there was a form for media credentials for Essence Fest. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I just filled it out. Not, I don't even know. I don't even think I thought about it. I don't know if I was expecting something or was not expecting something. But I got like 10 media passes to Essence Fest in 2017, I want to say. And this is like HML is a baby. Like I hadn't been published in any other like publications or media outlets. You know, I was basically a nobody when it came to the media and journalism. And so the fact that they got back to me and they were like, yep, here are your credentials. This is where you report to. This is the media room you go to, blah, blah, blah. That put the battery in my back to be like, you know what? I can do anything. Like I just have to follow through with it. And if I just had the audacity and like the self-drivenness, I don't even know if that's a word, but if I just believe in myself enough, literally I can do anything. I can make it happen. And that was my yeah, my yes moment.
Wow, that's powerful. So you got those passes, go to Essence, and that was kind of like your aha moment, and you just had that audacity to go for it. So just in terms of that action portion, it didn't take you very long to take action and actually come up with a name and all that good stuff. You got right to it.
Yeah, God was like, Jesus came to me in my sleep and he was like, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it big. Like, you're going to commit fully to it. And also, if you remember, this was the year that Girls Trip came out. So Essence Fest was like a really big deal that year. And I interviewed Spike Lee, I interviewed Maxine Waters, just like all of these huge people when I was like literally yesterday, at this time yesterday, I was at my desk at ASU, like twiddling my thumbs, not doing anything. And now look what I'm doing. And yeah, it's just been up ever since.
Wow, and that's amazing because I remember you saying early on, how you felt when you got to touch Gigi that you didn't belong, and you went from
Yeah.
feeling like you didn't belong to being in the room with some big dogs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
see how life works out. Sometimes we be thinking
Mm-hmm.
we ain't good enough, and a lot of times we be overqualified, and you made it happen.
No, seriously, I there's been so many times where I've been in rooms where like other people who were also invited into those same rooms are asking me questions and in my head I'm like, girl, I don't know. I don't I know just about as much as you do or probably less. But like never let them see you sweat. Just I like just keep it p and you know like be quick on your toes and just have faith in the abilities that got you into the door that you can stay inside that room once you get there.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So speaking of you standing 10 toes down, stand on your square, being stoic, was there anyone you met at the Essence Festival that low key you almost lost your breath, like you got a little nervous, you got a little starstruck, or did you keep it stoic the whole time?
Oh no, I'm a fangirl. Like 100%. And like I said, this was fresh. Like HML was a fresh idea when I did this. I didn't go to school for journalism. I had at that point I had no formal media training, didn't know what I was doing. So literally every time somebody walked past me, I was like 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 I probably look cool on the outside because I am a professional, so I kept it cool on the outside, but on the inside, my heart was like bursting because I was like these. You would think I was like an interviewer for the New York Times. You know, I had like little place cards with HML to tell me where to stand when I start doing interviews and blah blah blah. And it's like when you're good, you're just good, and um people don't care about the likes on social media. They don't care about the views. They care about the substance, like the people who actually matter. So that's just like that's what I took from that. Be a fan because we are fans, and yeah, I know people are just people, but it's different when you see people you looked up to, like Maxine Waters. This was also when she was fresh off of that quote, "Not my president," talking about Donald Trump. You know,
Right.
fresh off the 2016 election. So
Right.
to see her in person and to have the chance to talk to her and, have her say my name and hug me and her tell me she's proud of me. That was a huge moment for me. I love that.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And I appreciate your transparency and just being willing to say, hey, I met these people and I was really, fangirling out on the inside. And I mean,
Yeah.
because these days, like the one of the societal quote unquote norms is, a lot of people play this too cool for school, like, oh, if I meet such and such, I ain't gonna, man,
Yeah.
look, there's nothing wrong with being excited. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with drawing inspiration from a Maxine Waters or a Spike Lee, because to your point, these are people we saw on TV growing up. So to be in the same room with them,
Exactly.
come on now,
Yes.
you ain't. I'm trust me, like even if you're not showing it, you're gonna be like your heart gonna be beating real fast. Like man, this Spike Lee right here, like this do the right thing, like this Malcolm
Exactly.
X.
Yes. And the reason why I remember those two names specifically is because Maxine Waters was, riding the train about the Not My President thing. And then Spike Lee, She's Gotta Have It, the series was about to premiere. So that was also like a huge, a big deal for Spike Lee right then because She's Gotta Have It ended up being like a really not the movie, but the show ended up being a big deal on streaming. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be here for this. Like, I'm supposed to be sitting in screenings and premieres for like this important stuff, but apparently I was.
Yeah, you were definitely supposed to be there. Like you weren't there by mistake. You were there for a reason, and that's good stuff.
Right.
That you embraced the moment, had a good time, got a chance to chop it up with Spike, Maxine, and many more. That's an amazing story.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So just in terms of you being a creator and running her modern life, doing great things, how do you decompress when you're not creating?
Oh, this is my favorite thing to do. Like, I am the anti work girl, which sometimes is to my detriment. I'm trying to find the balance, between that. But like, when people are like, I'll rest when I sleep, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm a rest right now. Like, when
Mm-hmm.
I told you when we first got on Zoom, I just left the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the middle of a Monday. Just because, and not to get too like, preachy. I don't want to get in my hotel bag, but literally, once again, I have grandmothers who are in their 80s, so they've lived to see a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I just feel like this country owes me leisure. This country owes me time to relax, just because like my grandparents and my parents couldn't. They didn't even have a choice. Like they had to hustle for everything they got because this country for sure wasn't going to give it to them, especially like my great grandmother, one generation removed from slavery. She never got a chance to rest. She didn't know what sleeping in on a Saturday was. Like that wasn't even a thing. And so for me, it's like breaking emotional trauma just from like being Black. I feel like I have the right to chill whenever I want to, as long and that's like productive for me. Some people are like, oh, I need to up my productivity. It's quarter 4. I need to blah blah blah. Like you could go outside and get hit by a truck right now, and as you're like your soul is hovering around looking down at everything you've done in your life, are you gonna be like, dang, I should have gone to a picnic. Instead, I was inside doing Excel spreadsheets. Like, come on.
Right. No, right. That's a great perspective that you just broke down just in terms of feeling like this country owes you and just feeling like you said, your grandparents, your grandmothers, your great grandmothers, just all they've gone through. And trust me, our ancestors as a whole, like being Black in America isn't easy. It
Yeah.
comes with a lot of challenges. It comes with a lot of, to be honest with you, and that's why I respect you for stepping out. It comes with a lot of conforming. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to tone down. You can't be like, especially for Black women, because it's just being on LinkedIn, different social media websites. I read different articles about this. Like Black women, it's like y'all can't wear y'all hair a certain way. You can't talk a certain way.
Yeah.
You can't dress a
Mm-hmm.
certain way. And it's just like, okay, you putting us in a box, but the
Yeah.
thing is, okay, you put us in this box. However, the pay ain't equal, the workload ain't equal, and it's just like America does have a thing for kicking our backs in. So I respect people like you who are rebellious enough. I call it rebellious. I love it. I mean, I think rebellious is a great thing, but rebellious enough to step away from the norm and live on
Hmm.
your own terms. So I think that's amazing. And no, I don't view it as hotepish. I'm glad that you're able to speak on that with confidence and just knowing, hey, like America is historically we know what it is, and
Yeah, I mean, and it's just not even, it's not even me just saying that. Like literally, my father was in the military, his grandfather was military, his uncles were military. Like I have firsthand knowledge from my great aunts or my grandmas telling me how like their brothers got screwed over by the GI Bill, or even with going to Tuskegee. I I would go back to a dormitory, the Emory's. That's where I lived my sophomore year, and that's where the Tuskegee Airmen were stationed when they were in Tuskegee. And I could see letters that they were writing back to their family saying like how terrible they were being treated after they just got back, fighting for this country. And even with my dad, just so many sacrifices of getting deployed when his kids were in like the prime of their lives and missing so many events. And you mean to tell me y'all don't, I can't like stay in for a 4 day weekend? Man, please. I'm going to do it and I'm going to relax in the name of my ancestors because they
Mhm.
didn't get a chance to. So I'm going to do it for them.
Hey, I love it. Unapologetically black. That's the way to be.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So you've done great things with her modern life. I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are your short-term and long-term goals for the business?
That's such a, for me, that's such a loaded question because I can just go, I don't know, like literally the sky is the limit for me. So it's up to me to kind of funnel those things down and focus on where I want to go. I just wrapped up well, not just at the beginning of this year, I wrapped up a contract with the city of Montgomery, doing the public relations and marketing. And I think I just want to stay in that bag because there's so many stories from our city that need to be told, but we need to find a better way to tell them. Because now when people when people think about Montgomery, they think about like struggle and boats and chairs. And it's like this city is so much more than that. But how do we tell the story of what this city is without like beating it down with a hammer? Like, yes, Dr. King lived here. Yes, Rosa Parks didn't get up out of her seat, but like, what else? We can dig deeper, and in telling the history, we can provide a better future for our kids. Like, they don't have to be like, oh, Montgomery's the birthplace of the civil rights movement, and that's it. Like, what else is this city?
Wow, that's amazing. And congrats on landing that contract. That's amazing
Thank
news.
you.
Yes, ma'am. And whatever your short-term and long-term goals are, as you start to set those goals, I'm sure you'll make them all come to fruition because you'll go get them.
Thank you. But you know what? That goes back to me chilling a little bit too much. Because
Hmm.
I need to focus and get it together. So yeah, maybe you can hold me accountable in like a month from now. Be like, okay, girl, what progress did you make? Have you made? Yeah.
All good. Trust me, like you ain't chilling too much. You just like you said, you just getting what's due to you. Like nothing wrong with that. I mean, you still putting in work, you still productive, you still got a huge following on IG, you got a great website, like it's well done, professionally done. Like that's one of the things that's one of the first things that I when it looked at, as I was doing my due
Mhm.
diligence, I was like, her site is really laid out. Like that's amazing. So just were you the visionary behind the site? The website?
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. Her modern life has looked a lot of different ways because at first I was like, okay, it's just gonna be a blog just for me to, like a digital diary so I can exhale at the end of the day. And I don't know, it just like started expand, like it just kind of took on a life of its own. And I was like, okay, our digital presence needs to correlate to what we're doing in real life. If I say I'm this super creative person who's well informed, who wants to inform others, who wants to also learn amongst other people, the website needs to correlate to what we're doing in real life. So if I wanted it to be like this super creative space that informs people, that helps me learn new things along with helping other people learn new things, the website needed to reflect that.
Nice. Yes, ma'am. Well done. Well done. So, as we come to the conclusion of the podcast, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness connected to the city, whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or just work. You being a hometown hero, Sydney. What makes you the most proud to be from the Gump?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, oh, that's so I don't want to say anything ignorant. Hold on. Let me stop playing for like 2 seconds.
Nah, no worries. Just be. It's all good.
Okay, you know what? The thing that makes me most proud, and this is kind of I feel cringy for saying this because I keep saying I want this city to be known for more than civil rights history, but at one point Montgomery was known as the cradle of the Confederacy. But like people don't even acknowledge that anymore, and they say the birthplace of the civil rights movement. So I'm glad to be from one of those places in America that really like turned the tides when it came to race relations in this country.
Powerful stuff. Hey, that's good stuff. Powerful stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So, Sydney, how can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles and website?
At Her Modern Life and Sydney Official on Instagram and hermodernlife.com on the web.
Too easy. And of course, I'll put all of this information in the description of the episode. Hey, Sydney, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go on. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.